No matter where you live, it is so important for you to be connected to the nature that is surrounding you. A little bit of a backstory: I have been living in Los Angeles for 2 years now, and coming from a place where I was constantly surrounded by nature, it was absolutely an adjustment to live in a city like this. When I grew up surrounded by nature, it became where I found my peace. And anytime I would feel stressed or overwhelmed or just like I needed to take a step back from things, I would go into the woods or spend time next to a creek, and it just made everything feel so much better. Especially towards the end of when I was living there, I was spending pretty much every day in the woods, just meditating, reading, writing, painting, everything. I would just sit by the creek in the woods and just spend my mornings or my whole day sometimes. When I was finally able to move to Los Angeles, I was lucky because I had a car, which meant that I was able to drive several times a week to the mountains surrounding Los Angeles and go hiking. And it was really good for me because I didn't know anyone in Los Angeles, so I would just spend so much time in nature. And I really loved the nature here, but it was difficult for me to adjust to the fact that it wasn't in my everyday life in the way that it used to be. Because before, I grew up in a house surrounded by a forest, so every morning you would just see the woods, or every day you would just be able to experience nature. And so when I moved to the city, it was a little bit different because everything here is pretty much surrounded by concrete. Being someone like me who found their stillness and their balance in the woods, not being surrounded by it was difficult because I had to put forth the effort to find that balance in myself rather than from being in a calm and quiet place. And it was really good, and I'm really grateful that I've been able to find that. But I have also found that having nature integrated into my life in a daily basis has significantly improved it and made me so much happier, and just makes me glow in a different way when I am surrounded by plants. So these are a few of the ways that I integrate nature into my life every day. The first one is a little bit obvious. It is having plants in my house. And I started off small. I started with like 1 or 2 plants, and I've since then accumulated a lot of plants, and I'm accumulating even more because I love to come home and the first thing I see is like plants, and I just want to like come home and be surrounded by my own little forest. And it has been proven too that having plants in your house or having a garden outside of your house improves your mood and reduces your stress. And they've even found that having something to take care of has reduced the symptoms of depression in a lot of people, because it's something that you can love and take care of and see thrive, but it's not something that's as difficult to take care of as a pet. So having plants can substitute that. Side note too, if you live in an apartment where it's really like closed off and there's not much oxygen flow, which is super common for people who live in cities, having plants in your apartment obviously improves the quality of the oxygen because they're constantly turning carbon dioxide into oxygen, and it just like makes your space so much more breathable. If you don't have a lot of sunlight in your apartment, that's absolutely okay. There are a ton of varieties of plants that do not require sunlight or require very low light. For me, my old apartment got like no sunlight whatsoever, and so a lot of my plants were more like low light plants. And when I moved into my new apartment, which is where I live now, I have a lot of sunlight, and I even have an area where I have a garden outside, which allows me to just like, oh, I love it. It's like flourishing everywhere. But if you don't know what plant species will go best with your apartment and the amount of light that you get, you can just go to any place like Home Depot or nurseries. I like Home Depot personally because the plants are very reasonably priced, and they have such a large variety of species of plants. Pretty much any of their locations have a lot of plants. Plus they have all the soil and the nutrients, and they have a bunch of different brands. If you're looking for like lower lower cost plants, but also really healthy plants, I would go to Home Depot. They have really good plants. I've been to nurseries, and it depends which one you go to, and it's great to support local businesses, but they tend to be a little bit more on the expensive side. So it's just what you're looking for. The next tip that I have for integrating more nature into your life is to experience more sunsets and sunrises. And for me, I started doing this, I want to say about a year and a half ago. I was just feeling very uncertain about things in my life, and I randomly decided to wake up for the sunrise every morning. And not just wake up for the sunrise every morning, I would wake up at 5:15 and drive all the way to Malibu, and I used to live in Venice, so that's like a decent drive every single morning to watch the sunrise from like the point of Malibu. And watching the sunrise come over the ocean every morning was such a good way to start my day, because I feel like, and this happens to people who don't live in cities too, you just get very set in your day-to-day life, in your routine, and you don't see much beyond it. But when you experience life and nature at its purest in things like sunsets and sunrises, it puts everything into perspective, and it really highlights what is important and what is not important. And just having that perspective in your day-to-day life, even if you're doing a job that you don't enjoy that much or that doesn't mean that much to you, I feel like watching the sunrise or the sunset allows you to feel that you are a part of something bigger than that, and just give you the calmness and the happiness to do your best at whatever you're doing. Also, I have found that when I wake up for the sunrise, which is every day, I do wake up before the sunrise, it allows me to kind of set my intention for the day. I'm someone who's I can be very sensitive to the energies around me, and when you live in a place like a city, it tends to be very tense and intense, and especially like a place like Los Angeles is very like go, 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 like everyone's trying to do something, everyone's trying to be something. So if you're always surrounded by that energy, it gets very intense, even if you're not someone like that. So for me, waking up every morning before everyone else wakes up and just like spending it with myself, watching the sunrise, it really helped me to take a step back from that and to set my own intention for the day. And this next tip that I have goes hand in hand with waking up for the sunrise. And it's just in general, waking up earlier allows you the freedom to maybe go for a walk or go on a hike before you go to work. And not everyone has access to hiking places every morning, but just walking around your neighborhood, getting some fresh air, it really, really does like change your day. And it makes you notice things too, like you appreciate things when it's earlier in the morning before all the craziness starts. Definitely helps. This one is a little bit of a given, but if you have the opportunity, if you have a car, whatever it may be, try and actually go and spend time in nature. And I know this is complicated for people who live in cities or don't have cars, but just try and every once in a while make the effort to go and get away from where you are and just spend some time in nature. For me, I love spending time alone in nature. I just really like to sit and be calm and be alone, and it helps me be present a lot. I also love being in nature with my friends, but some days you just need to be by yourself, and I really like doing that in nature. So if you can do that, just schedule a couple of times out of the month or the week for you to just go out and experience nature. And I have found that through my life of experiencing nature in its entirety, like spending time in the forest, spending time at the beach, whatever it may be, you get such a deep appreciation for those things. And it kind of leads into my next point, which is, if you want to integrate nature more into your life, pay attention to the nature that's already in your life. So if you live in a city, whether it be just when you're walking on the sidewalk, noticing the little like weeds and pieces of grass that grow in between the sidewalk cracks, or noticing the trees that are on the sidewalk. I know so many times like it's so easy to just like walk by trees and they're just like decoration, but if you really notice them and pay attention to them, and if you're spending time in nature and beginning to notice it even more, you will just be able to feel calm by seeing those things and being surrounded by things that are living and beautiful, and it just makes me happy, and I know that it has been proven to help other people in their life as well. Your body is nature. Like, everything about your body was built from this earth, whether it be the actual formation of your body or the food you eat every day that you eat and it becomes a part of your body, or the fact that when we do leave this world, our bodies will stay here and will become a part of the earth. We are nature, and so when you put yourself in nature and spend time in nature, it reminds you of what you actually are, and it gives you perspective on everything in your life, because nothing else matters when you feel connected to the source of what you are.